All right, what's going on YouTube? We're going to skip the intro today, and we're just going to go over something. A lot of people have been finding me on Instagram recently as my Necronomicon gets shared over and over again in various places. People track me down. I thought I'd do a video right here just so everybody could see it, understand what I made, how I made it, what I did. And that, no, you can't buy one because my order list is like a year pending. And quite frankly, I'm getting sick of making them and I just don't want to keep making them anymore. So if you're not already on my order list, I'm probably not going to make you one. So please don't bug me about it. It's just, I'm tired of telling people, sorry, I'm not interested. But once you've made like 30 of these, you don't want to make them anymore. But I will show you what it is that we created. So this is the Ash versus Evil Dead Necronomicon. This particular sculpt was done by Kurt, who is a Knight of Sumeria in our group, and it's under the CB Studios branch, and so he pops out these in latex. They're coated, both sides, with Plastidip, so that way they endure and they last a little longer and they're protected, and then they're hand-painted by me, and I hand-stitch them. The number of stitch holes matches a raw pull from the one from the show that we got a picture of from the auction, so we know how many holes there were for all the different stitching, so we match that. I also noticed that in the show, it varies. So we just went with the one that was the raw pull, and we said, well, that's how many holes are in the sculpt, so we're going to match that, and that's how many we're going to do. So I believe it's about 22 or 21 on this end. There's like 7 down this end. There's 11 down here, or 10 or 11 down here, and whatever up here. So, but as you can see, we tried to match the look and the color as best I can, even though I do let, when people order it, sort of pick the version of the paint job they want. And I've done varied paint jobs. Some people want it to look very much like the show, like this one. Some people want to have it more highlighted so you can see the details. Some people want it very dark. Some people want it to look the way it looks in an auction. But this is essentially the paint job. There's no seams. I know that some people have purchased other Necronomicon covers that have seams. There's none in the show, so ours don't have any. There is a way to make this properly, as you can see, without a seam and have it bound up, but you have to know a little bit about bookmaking. And if you don't, you may just pop out a latex cover that has a seam, and then it's, you know, up to you, the buyer, to figure out how to do this. I make the whole thing because I know what I'm doing, because I researched it and I figured it out, and, you know, I've been making books for a couple of years now. Internally, we have a seamless bind. So what that means is you don't see the binding. I refer to that as a float bind. So what it essentially means is that the binding is not traditional binding, so it doesn't have the 3 stitch rings and all that, because I'm not taking A1 or 11 by 17 paper, folding them in half, stacking them up, then stitching through the middle, then stitching all those stitches together. I do something different, but I use a float bind system. So that allows us to have, for the most part, an invisible seam. But if you really stretch the pages and get in there, you can see there is some stitching in there. And I do that not because I really need it, but because it does add a little bit of stability, but it also gives it that ancient feel. They would have stitched it back in the day, so I wanted the book to have some stitching. The one in Ash versus Evil Dead does not have stitching because they used modern binding methods to create it, and it kind of makes it look a little too modern. So mine looks a little bit more aged, and particularly with the pages. So let's take a look at this, for example. So as you can see, there's some tears, there's some weathering, there's some coloration, blood droplets, different things like that. I've aged the pages in such a way that they feel old. In Ash versus the Evil Dead, actually, I have a page. The pages were very much pre-aged. It's all printed and stuff, but they were very flat. There was no crinkling to the paper or anything like that. And so you got a feel of this sort of modern print to it because it was extremely flat pages. And so I took that style, but I took it a step further and made sure that the pages had some wear and tear. And I understand how weathering works with books because I have some old books from the 1800s and 1700s, and I did some research into old Bibles and things like that. So I know where weathering occurs and where it does not, or breakdown occurs. And that's where a lot of bookmakers make mistakes in terms of how they weather and how they break down their pages. They don't understand the aging process of paper. And so if you don't do that research, it may look cool at first glance, but in terms of plausibility, it doesn't work. Good weathering should pretty much go unnoticed. It should just simply feel correct. It shouldn't be able to stand out and be like, oh, look, every inch of the edges are all black. Or, oh, look, I took a lighter and burned off my edges. How many books are burned? In all seriousness, like, people love burning paper as a way to weather them, but books don't burn for the most part. Very rarely do they kind of burn, or one page out of a whole folded series is burned. Like, it may look cool, but it's not practical. So I avoid a lot of that early, you know, for lack of a better term, noob stuff when it comes to weathering. You know, the super black edges, or the super green edges, or the burned edges. Like, everybody does that at first, and then you move away from that. You gain some more mature techniques. And even if you look at some of my early ones of the run that I've done, it's very different. So, like I said, there's over 100 impressions, so there's about 54 pages in here. And you can just hear that. It's not thin paper. I used to use cardstock. I used about a 65 pound, and then I realized I just didn't need that volume. So I've, for instance, if you go to Brett's Groovy Chainsaws, his is made with a 65 pound cardstock, and his has a lot of weathering in it. Like, that was something we really destroyed that book and made it look old and beat up. But I've dialed it down to 32. 32 pounds is more than enough to get that sound, that great parchment kind of sound. I've also changed what the base color of the pages paper is, because I didn't end up needing the more complicated. But even with basic text, when you go in and you look at how some of the aging and some of the staining and the imperfections come in, I've subtly changed how much of the page is discolored. I've backed off on that. I still use, do I even have it out here? Where is it? Here it is. I still predominantly use wood stain, but I've switched over to these Rust-Oleum ones, which are much more subtle. In particularly, this stuff here, this golden oak. It makes a much more subtle dye on the page, and then the weathering is very, very subtle. And I do like that better. If I could show you something, like, how does it make it more subtle? So, for example, let's take a look, like, yeah, just something as simple as this. So, this page is ripped, and then I did an oak stain, so when I remove the page, you can see there's that little bit of edge there. So, everywhere there's a rip, the subsequent page has an impression from that page, and so it creates something that's very, very plausible. And it does kind of give you that mildew feeling. And of course, you go in with the black shoe polish, and you hit some edges here and there to make the mildew. But some pages are way more destroyed than others. Where's one that I really just wrecked in here and just sort of made murderous? So like something like this, like, you can see how much darker this is than the one next to it. And of course has that little edge on the bottom. And when we flip over here, it's got a little bit of that dirt in the impression. So, like I said, it has all the major pages we see in the show. We see that in the show. Of course, we've seen this before in the same layout as it appears in the Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness animatic. This page, for example, does not appear in the show, but I knew it had to be in there, so I made it. Whereas this one doesn't appear in the show. This appears in the show at the end credits, so I knew this page had to have been made because this artwork existed, so I went back in and did the additional. Then something more along the lines of, again, seen in the end credits, so you know it appears. These pages, of course. And, you know, we've gone through and shown, like, Entertainment Tonight pages, of course, which are the most widely circulated of those. So those are in there. Another such example, we've seen the Portal page in Season 1, Episode 3. It appears here on the left, so of course I have it on the left with a text page to its immediate right, as it's supposed to. Is it the exact same text? I don't know, but it looks like. Some of these pages from the auction we've seen, like the Baphomet page, they're in there. But we didn't actually see them, you know, in the show. The Necronomicon page, this appeared. And I was actually given about 36 screen-used pages to recreate in my physical hands. They were given to me to use, and then I returned them, so that was very useful. A couple of collectors have reached out to me with pages I was missing. Of course, the Hero of the Sky page, which everybody loves. I put it in the middle of the book because it does appear to be in the middle of the book in the show, although it does move, which leads me to believe there's more than one Hero of the Sky page in a screen-used Necronomicon, but all the pricks who have won a screen-used Necronomicon won't send me a flip-through so I can verify, so fuck them. And I've done a few little things in here so that I know it's mine. So if anybody ever tried to scan or copy one of mine, they would copy my imperfections and my little tweaks, and then I would be able to spot it, so I would know you stole it. But, I mean, I don't really care. But it's just little things that artists do to make sure they know. It's like, yep, that's mine. Like I said, this one, for example, Kondar the Destroyer, I hand-painted that. So I painted it, scanned it into Photoshop, manipulated it so it matched a little better, but pretty much I made that because I wanted this whole demon section, quote-unquote, to have a demon section. So, you know, you start with the portal page, and then you get Kondar, and you turn the page to the Eligos page, which, of course, we see in the show, and it's this way, you know, aligned that way. And then these two demons appear, not next to each other necessarily, but I wanted all the demons in one spot, so that if you were doing a con or something and you were doing that scene in Ash vs. Evil Dead, you like, find me the demons, and well, put all the demons in one spot. You know, Snake Lady and Hatchet Lady. This page I included in the demons page, because why not, but it does appear opposite a text page, so I did try to honor that. As I said, I brought in a little 2013 just for fun, because there are certain images in the book that were taken from 2013, so I knew they had some, so I figured why not others. But it's been completely repainted, so I completely went in and redid it so it doesn't match the 2013, which I do have here somewhere. I have those pages. The cocoon page is in the demon section next to the butterfly and the moth, and then I end the demon section with Pale Rider, as I like to call it, one of my favorite pieces of artwork from that show. Then you flip to pages, which of course this appears in the Christine episode, where the kids are reading from the book, and there are post-its that go in here, and those are available on the Knights of Sumeria's files page if you're in the Facebook group, so you can download those, print them out, and put them in the appropriate places. I was including them, and then some people didn't want them, so I just decided to give the text away, so that just those printable cards are just out. Then we run into the Lost pages. They're all grouped together, including Pablo's portal page there. Because I figure that it's a complete Necronomicon. If you really want yours to feel like it has lost pages, then you can just tear those out without ruining the book. So make life easy. And then, like I said, we come into the season 1, episode 3 montage. I've gone in and just made everything red. Everything in here is red and black. There's no additional colors or things like that. There was a lot of colors in these, which doesn't make sense if you're inking it in blood. So, took care of that. A lot of text pages. This page was actually done in flesh, and I believe that was auctioned off and sold recently. I saw it reappear. Then, of course, the Kondar Destroying the City page, Season 2, Episode 1. Appears a little bit more purple in their version, but I have gotten my hands on the actual prints of these that were production used, not the screen used, but the production used, the full ones, which is what I used to create this, so then I could tear it away accurately. It's not purple, so it's just the color grading in the episode, which leads you to believe that when you're trying to screen match props from the show, take into account that the color you're seeing ain't the color of the real prop, so don't necessarily screen match it, because this would be purple, when in reality, it's this color red, and so I made it that color red. And then, again, we go back into like some of that mildewing and things like that. You know, I really subtled it down a lot because I wanted there to be just this very natural feel to it. And so, again, we'll do one like really big flip through, but and you can see there's a lot into this book. And there's that float bind page there, which is lighter than the others. For practical reasons, but the corners are all stitched a certain way and done a certain way. There's actually screen used, to be fair. If I want to be super accurate, there's supposed to be a stitch in the upper corner here. I just don't do it. It seems ridiculous to have one. So that is my Evil Dead, Ash vs. Evil Dead, AvED Necronomicon, and it was available. People just came out in droves and bought it, and so I had a wait list like 1.5 years long, and I only make like 1 a quarter because it takes a little bit out of me to make them. A lot of weathering, a lot of shoulder work. But yeah, I don't know how long I'm going to continue doing them. 2022 is completely spoken for. I've already got some people waiting for 2023 for when I announce that run, and that may be my last run of these just because I don't want to make these for the rest of my life. With the game coming out, its popularity's up. People are like, oh, I want one, but I don't care. It's not about money. You could throw money at me all day long. I just don't want to spend all my time making them. I'm in my shop. I make a lot of stuff, and I want to make stuff for me too. and I don't want to spend all my time making stuff for other people. So it's really not a thing where I'm being a prick about it. It's just, I don't want to do it. I'm not a production company, man. I'm one dude. And if I'm going to waste time building props, I'm going to build my stuff. I mean, I'm currently working on, I'd love to mod my Baby Yoda at some point, make him posable, but I can't even find time to do that shit, man. So I thought I'd make a YouTube video. Yes, I am the Necronomicon guy. Yes, I make these. Yes, these are the ones you've seen. These are mine. I've done it in various people's covers. My pages have appeared in a lot of different books. The Lab 151 cover has graced my pages a number of times. People have used that cover and just bought the pages from me. That is something that is possible. You might be able to talk to me about just getting pages that are bound up and glued together and sent off. No, you can't buy an original set of them so you can scan them. And no, you can't have the file. So don't ask. But I wanted people to at least know this is me. And if you're not in the Facebook group, you wouldn't know that. So here's me. Here's the book. Yes, I made it. No, I'm not really doing more orders of them. They're in the world. If I ever do, the only place you'll know that is in the Knights of Sumeria Facebook group. So that was what you'd have to join to see if I ever do another run. The Knights get first crack at everything. It's one of the benefits of being in the group. It's free to join, hang out. It's a no drama zone. So if you're going to be a prick, don't join. But small group, but a loyal group. And so thanks for checking out the page, and thanks for checking out this book with me today. And hopefully you guys will all enjoy the game, Evil Dead the game. This book will appear in the game. Well, not mine, but this version will appear in the game. I'm super pumped about it. And yeah, enjoy yourselves. Like I said, if you want to get a stagnant book, you can just go out and get a Lab 151 cover. But my pages are harder to come by now because I'm making them less and less. So that's how it goes. So thank you much. And to everybody, this is actually an order that's going out. I haven't even made myself one, believe it or not. Every time I've made one, I've sold it to somebody. So I don't even own one. So this one's going out very soon. And before it leaves me, I thought I'd do a quick video and show everybody. Thanks a lot, everybody, for hanging out with me. Keep an eye on the page. We got some Witcher figure stuff coming, some more costume stuff coming, some more ghost stuff coming. Hopefully some Highlander stuff coming, which I've been preparing to make for this channel for like a year. And I'm really looking forward to doing that. I may or may not be moving in a year or so. If that happens, then I have to put everything on hold again, but eventually I will. So thanks for tuning in. And of course, Star Wars stuff, always Star Wars stuff. And, we'll see you guys around. And, remember, join Ash vs. Evil Dead Knights of Sumeria fan group if you want to talk about the game in a happy place where people aren't trolling.